You can learn anything in just 2 weeks. I know that sounds unbelievable, even crazy, but hear me out. I am not saying you will become a world-class expert in only 14 days. Mastery takes years, sometimes decades, and that is not the point here. What I am talking about is making real progress, visible progress, progress that moves your life forward faster than you ever thought possible. In 2 short weeks, you can learn enough to create results that surprise not only other people, but also yourself. Imagine what that means for your dreams, your career, your health, your relationships, and your future. Most of us underestimate how much change can happen in just a small window of time when we are fully focused and intentional. And if that does not excite you yet, let me make it clearer. 2 weeks of smart learning could be the difference between being stuck where you are now and stepping into a completely new chapter of your life. The problem is that most of us were trained to learn the wrong way. We grew up believing that success meant memorizing endless textbooks. We thought success came from spending 12 hours a day cramming for exams. And then we forgot 95% of that information right after the test. We were told that if we just stayed in school long enough, collected enough degrees, and followed the system, everything would fall into place. But here's the harsh truth. Most of that information never shows up in real life. It does not help you start a business. It does not help you land your dream job. It doesn't even help you handle the everyday challenges that actually matter. You hear it all the time. People graduate and get a degree. Many end up working in a completely unrelated field. Others finally find a job in their area of study, but then they realize nothing they learned in school actually applies. They still have to learn everything from scratch, on the job, under pressure. That's because real learning does not come from memorizing. Real learning comes from doing. It comes from testing, experimenting, failing, and trying again until the skill becomes part of who you are. And yet, schools train us to delay this process for years. You spend 4, 6, maybe even 8 years studying things that never touch your daily life. During that time, your real growth is on pause. You are waiting for some certificate, some stamp of approval before you let yourself move forward. But by then, you've already lost years of momentum. And for many people, they end up stuck in jobs they never wanted in the first place. Think about how much time has been wasted because of this broken system. It is not an exaggeration to say that entire decades are thrown away. What if you could learn 10 times faster? What if you could reach your milestones in months instead of years? That is what this method is all about. It is about learning how to learn. Because if you know how to learn quickly, you can accomplish 10 goals in the time it takes the average person to achieve just one. And in some cases, they may never reach even that one. So how do you actually do it? It starts with the first insight. Skill acquisition equals technique stacking. Everything you can do in life is a skill. Read that again. Everything you can do is a skill. That means relationships are skills. Communication is a skill. Starting a business is a skill. Persuasion, creativity, fitness, confidence, all of it can be broken down into skills that can be learned. And if something is a skill, then it can be practiced. If it can be practiced, it can be repeated until it becomes second nature. And once it is second nature, you move through life with a new kind of freedom. Think about a professional guitar player who can play a complex solo without thinking. Think about a basketball star who can shoot three-pointers on command with almost perfect accuracy. They were not born with that. They stacked techniques over time until the skill became automatic. And you can do the same in any area of your life. Health, wealth, relationships, mindset, whatever matters most to you, they are all built from skills. And those skills are built from techniques. Here is where most people go wrong. They decide they want to learn an entire skill all at once. They say, I want to learn business. But business is not a single skill. You cannot just learn business. There is no course or degree that suddenly makes you a business owner. Business is made up of dozens of smaller techniques, each of which can be practiced and improved. The same is true for music. You do not just learn guitar. When you say you want to learn guitar,
You are not facing a simple task. You are actually looking at 10 years of practice. You are facing thousands of books and millions of videos. You are surrounded by endless advice from people who all claim to know the best way. No wonder so many people give up before they even start. The solution is simple but powerful. Do not start with the whole skill. Start with the purpose. If you want to play guitar, pick one song you want to play. If you want to use Photoshop, pick one image you want to create. If you want to start a business, pick one product or one service you want to sell. Purpose comes first, not abstract learning. Then, when you hit the first obstacle, that is when you learn. You do not study everything in advance. You find the exact technique you need for the next step. You try, you fail, you look up the answer, you adjust, and then you try again. That is technique stacking. Each small victory builds on the last. One note on the guitar becomes a full song. One edited photo becomes a portfolio. One product becomes a business. And with every step, you stack another technique, another piece of the puzzle, until the bigger skill starts to form. Within 2 weeks, you can play that first song. Within 2 weeks, you can edit that first video. Within 2 weeks, you can launch that first project. It won't be perfect, but it will be real, and it will move you forward faster than months of passive study.
Skills are built inside the mind the same way muscles are built in the body. When you repeat an action, you create new neural pathways. Each pathway is like a thread, and the more times you use it, the stronger that thread becomes. Soon, it is not just a thread, it is a rope, and eventually, it becomes a bridge. That is how skills form. They are not magic, they are the result of consistent practice and repetition. This leads us to the second insight: progressive overload of the mind. If you have ever been to the gym, you know the principle of progressive overload. You do not walk in on day 1 and try to bench 300 pounds. You start with the empty bar. Then you add 10 pounds, then 20, then 50. Over time, your strength grows, and what was once impossible becomes normal. The same exact process applies to your brain. You build mental strength the same way you build physical strength. Think of a puzzle. At the beginning, the pieces are scattered everywhere. You cannot see the picture yet. But as you place more pieces, an image starts to form. At 50% complete, you already have a good idea of what the final picture will look like. At 70 or 80%, you can clearly see the whole design, even if some pieces are still missing. Skills work the same way. You do not need 100% mastery to start getting results. You just need enough pieces in place to see the big picture. Take learning a language. You do not need perfect grammar to communicate. You only need a few key techniques. With those, you can ask for water, order food, or introduce yourself. People understand you even if you make mistakes, and every conversation becomes practice. Over time, the pieces stack up until you sound fluent. It is progressive overload in action. Now, apply the same principle to money. Most people think making money is outside their control. They believe it depends on luck, privilege, or opportunities given by others. But in truth, making money is a skill. It is a set of techniques you can learn and practice. The problem is not money itself. The problem is the way we have been conditioned to think about it. Teachers, parents, and society planted beliefs that hold us back. We tell ourselves stories like, "I'm not good with money," or "I could never start a business." But those are just mental blocks, not reality. When you let go of those limiting beliefs, you start to see the truth. Making money is no different than learning to shoot a basketball. At first, you miss every shot, but with practice, you get better. Eventually, you can make three-pointers consistently. It's not about luck, it's about skill. And like any skill, it can be improved quickly with focused effort. The key is to control your reactions. When the thought, "I cannot do this," appears, you pause. You choose not to believe it. You replace it with action. That alone is a skill, and mastering it will transform your ability to learn. Because once you stop letting your emotions control you, you can focus on execution. Here is the power of progressive overload. You do not need to be at 100% to succeed.
You only need to be at 20, 30, maybe 40%. And that's enough to change your life. If you commit 6 months to focused learning, you can reach that level in almost any field. That means earning more money, building stronger relationships, or mastering a creative tool in record time. Most people think they need to be the best in the world. They compare themselves to billionaires, professional athletes, or world-class performers. But you don't need to be in the top 1%. You just need to be ahead of where you were yesterday. And with progressive overload, that happens faster than you imagine. Let me give you an example. If you focus on building a business, what do you really need? 2 things: something to sell and someone to buy it. That's the core. If you don't have a product, learn how to create one. If you don't have customers, learn how to reach them. Each of these is just another technique to stack. Product creation, marketing, traffic generation, personal branding, outreach. Each one is a skill you can practice. And each time you master one technique, you move closer to the result. The trap is distraction. People waste months worrying about the perfect business model, the perfect logo, or the perfect algorithm. But the truth is simple. Most people fail not because the strategy is wrong, but because their mind is clouded with stress, fear, and excuses. They give up before they've even tried. And that's why mastering your mindset is essential. If your thoughts are negative, your performance drops. You could have level 50 skills, but stress pulls you down to level 10. Calm focus lifts you back up. That's why progressive overload is not only about practice, but also about mental clarity.
So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Start with the bar. Start with the simplest version of the skill. Then add weight slowly. Add complexity one step at a time. That is how you grow. That is how you reach goals that once felt impossible. Within months, you can go from beginner to competent. Within a year, you can go from competent to excellent. And once you have stacked enough techniques, excellence becomes your new normal. Progressive overload of the mind is the bridge between who you are today and who you want to become. The third insight is the one most people never experience. Rapid learning requires pure focus. Not half focus, not distracted attention, but a state where you and the task become one. When you are in pure focus, there is no phone buzzing, no background noise, no thoughts about yesterday or tomorrow. It is just you and the skill in front of you. Every piece of information that enters your mind is instantly transformed into action. It is a state where input and output merge. This is what athletes call the zone. This is what artists call flow. And this is what makes weeks of progress happen in days. But pure focus does not happen by accident. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. Social media, notifications, endless entertainment, each one pulls a thread of your attention away from the work that matters. And when your attention is fragmented, your learning slows to a crawl. That is why most people feel like learning is a grind. They're not lacking intelligence, they're lacking focus. So how do you reach pure focus? One way is by engineering your environment. You remove distractions. You set clear boundaries. You create a space where the only possible outcome is learning. But there is an even stronger method, and that is what I call tactical stress. Tactical stress means putting yourself in a situation where you cannot back out. It's like stepping under the bar for a 1-rep max at the gym. You know it will be heavy, you know it will challenge you, but because you are under the bar, you must give everything you have. In learning, tactical stress looks like a hard deadline or a high-stakes commitment. It is quitting your job so your business must work. It is signing up to give a presentation before you know the material. It is announcing publicly that you will release a video in 7 days when you still have no idea how to edit it. I once learned After Effects, one of the most complex editing softwares, in just 2 weeks. Not because I was smarter or more talented, but because I had to. I promised my audience a video filled with animations I had never created before. The deadline was real, my survival depended on it, and failure was not an option. That pressure forced me into pure focus. Every tutorial I watched became immediately applied.
Every mistake I made had to be fixed fast. And within 2 weeks, I had gone from zero knowledge to producing a professional result. That is the power of tactical stress. Now imagine what happens when you combine all three insights. You stop trying to learn entire skills at once, and instead you stack techniques with purpose. You stop chasing perfection, and instead you use progressive overload to grow step by step. You stop waiting for motivation, and instead you build pure focus by creating tactical stress. Together, these three principles allow you to learn anything faster than you ever thought possible. So here's the framework for the next 2 weeks of your life. Week 1, choose your purpose. Pick one song, one image, one project, one product, something real that matters to you. Then take the first step. And when you hit an obstacle, learn only the technique needed to move forward. Apply it immediately and keep going. By the end of week 1, you will have already stacked several techniques. Week 2, increase the challenge. Use progressive overload. Make the task slightly harder than before. Push yourself into deeper practice and add tactical stress. Set a public deadline. Tell a friend, announce it online, or lock yourself into a commitment that forces you to deliver. Now your focus sharpens and your learning accelerates. By the end of week 2, you will look back and be shocked at how far you've come. Will you be a master in 2 weeks? No, but you will be transformed. You will be on a new trajectory, one where skills compound, confidence grows, and results multiply. You will see proof that you can change your life in less time than you ever imagined. And once you experience that, you will never go back to the slow way of learning again. Everything you want, better health, more wealth, stronger relationships, greater creativity, comes down to skills. And every skill is learnable. If you stack enough skills, your life becomes unrecognizable. That is how you rise into the top 1%. Not by talent, not by luck, but by learning faster than everyone else. So the question is simple. What will you learn in the next 2 weeks? What skill will you stack that takes you closer to the life you dream of? Don't waste another day. Don't wait 10 years. Start now. 2 weeks from today, you will thank yourself. And if you are ready to take this journey further, this is how you get there. Subscribe to this channel. Every video will give you the tools you need. Every video will build the right mindset. And you will get the strategies to keep learning fast and creating the life you deserve. This is your moment. Don't let it pass.